Hello, viewers. Welcome to the best corner of the worst community in all of the internet, that being the MMA community. And this being the blue corner today, we are joined, as always, by Hendrix, the Benoit Saint Denis guy,
I'm depressed. Let's go, baby.
by Zoomerman,
How we doing? I'm in the same boat. This is terrible.
and by Ring the Bell MMA.
What's up, guys? I'm Belle. I'm always in the same boat, so glad to be here.
And we are fresh off of 299. First things first, Hendrix, if people want to find you and they want to follow you, where do they go?
You can get me on TikTok, CEO.Hendrix. Same thing for Twitter, Instagram, Hendrix Fate. Links will be in the description below.
Fate is FEHT, not FATE.
Yeah, common misconception.
About you, Zoom?
Same thing, just Zoomerman on TikTok. That's about it. I've been kind of slacking on there, but that's all I got.
Okay, Bell?
I'm just Ring the Bell MMA on TikTok and then Belle Ann on Instagram.
And is there something to plug with your ESPN thing?
Oh, yeah, that's pretty recent actually. I'm in the ESPN creator class this year, so I spent some time in Connecticut last week, but it's just my same TikTok and there's some really exciting stuff coming up for UFC 300.
All right. That's awesome. So we're going to start at the top of the card and work our way down. We have Marlon Chito Vera losing via robbery to Sean O'Malley. I'm joking, of course. That was 50-44 sounds about right. I think that we were all sort of in the same boat. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I kind of felt as if obviously Sean O'Malley should win, but for the past like 4 or 5 fights, for Sean and for Cheeto, nothing has ever made sense. So I was kind of waiting for something absurd to happen. Hendrix, how do you feel
Yep.
about the fight? And is Sean O'Malley a superstar?
Um, that fight was insane. Now, not to toot my own horn, but in my prediction video, I did call for the Sean O'Malley masterclass because I like Cheeto. He's a cool guy, but at the end of the day, he's kind of mid, but with a great chin and cardio. And I that's what I figured was going to happen. Not to that extent. Like Sean O'Malley came closer than I think anyone has to dropping Cheeto, which Jesus Christ, we need to study that man's chin. And in the case of him being a superstar, I don't I don't think so at the moment, but maybe after this, I can definitely see it, especially if he fights Ilya Taporia, which don't do that. Let's hold our horses a little bit. But overall, very impressive performance from Sean O'Malley. I mean, maybe he is undefeated.
How do you feel, Zoom?
My bad, it undid it. I was about the same. I thought this was going to be a very lame fight where Cheeto was going to stay stationary and Sean was going to move around him and just kind of pepper him. It wasn't. It was a pretty entertaining fight. It was a little sad to see Cheeto just get picked apart like that. I like Cheeto a lot. Sean did a really good job of outputting damage. And even though like Cheeto ate it really well, that was a lot of damage, and a lot of dudes could not have withstood that, especially that knee. That was gross. Like that sounded disgusting. And most dudes would not have eaten that. Um, as for him being a superstar, I think he's getting there. I'm seeing dudes who don't watch the sport repost him on their Instagram story. Like that is when people who don't watch the sport comment on you, that means something to me. So like I think so. He's getting there.
No?
Okay, so I agree with Zoomer. How I kind of saw the fight going was a little different than it did. I appreciate that Sean is kind of improving fight by fight. I appreciate seeing a fighter improving every single time that you step into the octagon and giving me something new. And I think it was like, what, 230 significant strikes for Sean and like 89 or 90 for Cheeto. So it was pretty significant. And in terms of him being a star, I think that he has the potential. I think it's almost a little bit too heavy of a push from the UFC, though, on their end with what they're trying to do to make him into a star. I think he can do it on his own. Like Zoomer said, like, I see a lot of people that don't watch the sport or more casual fans posting about Sean O'Malley on a regular basis, which means a lot to me as well. But I think it's just be a little bit more casual. Like, it's pretty heavy push. I think Dana in the post fight said that he's the biggest star that bantamweight has ever seen. But I think it just needs to be a little bit more relaxed in that push for him to be the star that they want him to be.
Yeah.
I will say I'm kind of disappointed with Sean. This man, he walked out to superstar when he got the title fight. That makes sense. But then he walked out to it again. No, you're supposed to walk out to the show goes on. It's a cohesive thing. But he ruined that. He ruined it.
That's a good point. I was in Boston when he fought Aljo. That was actually my first UFC event that I ever went to, was Boston, seeing Sean be champ. And I actually like where your head's at with the show goes on. I think that would have made a little bit more sense. Didn't think about that.
I think he could be a superstar if he changed the shorts, because like Sean's a professional athlete, and that is the least flattering outfit I have ever seen. Like
Really?
his arms look or his legs look as big around as my arms. Get him in like the Charles Oliveira skirt, and we got another Connor.
Yeah, he has no butt. He has no butt at all, and it's
He's
rough whenever
weird
it's real
looking.
time.
He's built
Yeah,
like a Sims character.
yeah. I think that he doesn't feel like a superstar for some reason. And it's weird because if you look at the amount of times that casuals will talk about him, my mom was like, "Hey, somebody is fighting from Montana, right?" And I was like, "Oh, she's talking about Sean O'Malley." And I was like, "Yeah." And I showed her a picture. She's like, he does not look like he's from Montana." I'm like, "Oh, that's him, I promise." But, casual people are taking note of him and becoming fans of him, and like in the presser that's a little bit more hardcore of an audience, and it was 50-50 Cheeto Sean, but in the arena it's not. In the arena it's anybody who's in the neighborhood and who has money, or it's people that are fans enough to go and get really excited, but it's not necessarily like the people that are gonna get up in the morning to go do something. And it was like 100% Sean. So I understand that, but something about him just doesn't feel like a superstar, and I don't quite have my finger on it. In terms of his performance, though, I mean, obviously it was great, but I'm not gonna let us all forget the fact that Cheeto, didn't necessarily he didn't necessarily belong in there, at least as of right now. Um,
And
so good.
my bad. In terms of him not feeling like a superstar, I've had the opinion for a long time. I think fans look at him the wrong way. A lot of fans, they see the look, they see the cars, they see the the hair, all that. They expect like the Connor, the trash talk, the bigger than life personality. When the fact is, Sean O'Malley is a socially awkward stoner, and people want him to be more than that. Which, to be honest, if you look at his fighting style, he fights like a superstar. He doesn't act like one, but like, does he really need to? Because like me personally, I like the socially awkward stoner gimmick. That vibes with me.
That's fair.
I think that's definitely true. And I think he needs to stop going to press conferences just whacked, because when people talk to him, he's got to process it for 3 or 4 minutes before he gets a good line out every now and then, and they put him in TikTok edits, and that really helps. But when you listen to him cohesively, he's not quite on the money. And I think if you laid off the grass, you could maybe get rid of that problem.
It's different. It's like their persona that they're pushing is just so different than him naturally. And there's like different PR training in there. So when he actually gets out there, you're like, it's a little different than how they're painting him to be in my head. So I'm not like, if I want like the stoner that's kind of slow with an answer, Nick Diaz is one of my favorite fighters ever. And I have that with him. So the whole thing with Sean is it's not even that like very natural thing that I want. I don't know. I just feel like if they let him go kind of naturally, stop trying to push this persona, but he also pushes it very heavily too. It just kind of hits an awkward moment.
Yeah, that is something he's kind of doing the Ian Gary thing a little bit, where he's not responding naturally. He isn't built a character that he's comfortable playing or anything like that. He's just every once in a while does what he thinks that a big superstar fighter would do in that situation. But it's not like sometimes he's Connor and sometimes he's a chill like stoner that doesn't care about what anybody thinks and has like the sunglasses on. He's walking cool, and other times he's like Colby Covington, where he's just like, whatever. Marab's nose is crooked as Joe Biden, and Cheetos Pinata. And I'm just like, where did that come? That was a little burst of energy out of nowhere. Didn't make a lot of sense. So who is he fighting next? Topuria or Marab?
Keep him
They're
away
not
from
going to give him
support.
a Rob.
Rob, please not Topuria. I can't do like the division hopping shit. Like, defend your title. Please and thank you, defend your title. Like, it's driving me nuts.
I will say.
I'm in that same boat, but there's no shot there giving Marab a title. They're going to throw Marab to the dogs until he falls, and then once he falls, he's dropping to 9th, and they're burying him. He said no to them. They're like, fight out. He's like, no, fuck y'all. And he's like, all right, we do not play that.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they give Marab, I think Marab's the best bantamweight on the planet. If you can do that to Henry Cejudo and like pick an Olympian up and like whatever, fucking Lil Bro him in wrestling and not get tired at all and still throw Piotr Jan around for 5 rounds, there's not a lot people can do about that. It's unfair. But I don't think he'll get a shot because of how much of a problem he was to work with.
Now, I think you all are looking at this from the wrong angle. The Sugar State Athletic Commission, they overturned the Cheeto law since he did that. But what we need to do, there's still that one little thing on his record. He needs to avenge that no contest to prelim Pedro right now. So get his ass in the main event and get his ass knocked out. Let's get it.
Well, now hold on, Hendrix. So we could have him avenge that no contest, but you know what? Every champion needs a trilogy fight with somebody he's won to and lost to. So after he fights Pedro Munoz, he needs to fight Cheeto Vera again in the trilogy.
Oh yeah, let's go.
And by then it's 2026.
Bro,
and he can
Corey
retire.
Sandhagen and Marab, they're never getting their title shots. It's never happening.
In terms of division hopping, I think that it's okay as long as you clear out your division, but sometimes your division just sucks. And so you pretty much have cleared out your division because there's not even anybody that you could reasonably say is going to present any kind of challenge to you, right? Like, for example, I mean, I know that you can't necessarily go up in weight at heavyweight, but if Tom Aspinall were to fight John Jones and win, I mean, what are we going to do? Who are you going to put him up against? Curtis Blades again? Maybe, kind of. Like, what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, there's not really anybody for him to fight, so moving around would kind of make sense at that point. But bantamweight has so many different styles, and there's so many different people that may prove different problems. So yeah, no, he needs to do some work at bantamweight.
Yeah.
But okay, let's move on to the co-main event of the evening. I feel like there's going to be some feelings. So strap in. Go. You know what? Go ahead, Hendrix.
So, first off, moral of the story, I think there's a very big moral to this fight, and that's clean the damn mats. Staph infection is a bitch, bro. Come on. Like, let's be real. When he gets hit in the hole, that's when he falls. That's crazy behavior. But never mind. On a real note, a lot of people are very, very quick to throw out the word fraud or fraud checked when, to be honest, as sad as I was when it happened, I'm looking on the positive side. This man is 28 years old, 7 years of training, just got ranked in the Matt Frevola fight, and his second ever ranked opponent was a legend and the number 3 ranked lightweight on the planet, Dustin Poirier. He went out there, had a dominant first round, hurt Dustin, grappled, showed very good grappling, did all that, and he got caught in the second round. Overall, if you look at the people around him in the rankings, I want you to give me a name that does better than he did against Dustin last night. You can't do it. And I still see a very big potential and a very bright future for Benoit Saint-Denis if he works on the little holes in his game, because that fight really came down to his inexperience, the way he was lunging, the way he was very reckless. He tried to play Dustin Poirier's game against Dustin Poirier, and it didn't work. And yeah, I think just give him a few more ranked opponents, let him work his way back up, and just let him get a little more experience. And I think we have a future top 5 contender without a doubt. But other than that, yeah, clean the mats. Don't be French. Don't be nasty. And shout out to Dustbin. That's all.
Every time Zoom talks, I look at him. When Belle talks, I look at her. And when you talk, I'm just staring into the most insane picture of all time. But either way, how do you feel, Zoom, about this fight?
I mean, there's no shame in what I think he said it well. Like, wash your ass. Don't try to stick and move with Dustin Poirier. He has that thing where when I was watching the Super Bowl this year, when it went to overtime, I'm like, oh, Patrick Mahomes wins. Like, there's zero doubt in my mind he's gonna do it. When I'm watching Dustin Poirier bounce off the cage, stick and move, throw hooks, if a guy's running at him, I'm like, Dustin Poirier wins this. I don't care that he's getting out grappled. He's gonna stand up and he's gonna knock this dude out. Dustin has got to stop with that guillotine. You cannot go for a guillotine when your wrist is like on his neck. He's like, close enough. Elbow, I don't need that shit. Jump for Gilly. Good positioning, no. If you sprawl, if you work for underhooks, I think that fight could have gone a lot easier. But I'm not a professional fighter either, so. Dustin Poirier has a brick for a hand, and I don't know, no hair to mess with. Saves the energy. Like you were saying earlier, if he gets his belt, he'll stop fucking with the shorts and he'll be good.
Okay. I, to be completely honest, was like the happiest person in the world when Dustin won last night. So my mom's favorite fighter is Dustin Poirier. He's very important in the Pacheco household. He's talked about on a daily basis, to be quite honest, especially ever since we met him in Vegas. So it was a very big moment, but I don't think that there was like any fraud checking. I think that especially on MMA TikTok, there's terms that are thrown out a lot, terms that are like really stupid, casual, fraud checked, like, and they just get so normalized that they're thrown out for every little thing. I don't think that's what happened last night. I don't. And I honestly, okay, if we're getting completely honest, so I had food poisoning last night and I knocked out. I was like in and out, so sick for hours. And then I passed out for the first 3 fights on the main card. And I woke up to Gilbert Burns getting knocked out. He was like, had blood on his face on my screen when I woke up, covered in sweat. And that's when I arose for the main card last night. I rewatched all the fights, don't worry. But so that Dustin fight was the first one that I watched all the way through. And it did provide me with a lot of happiness. The guillotines drove me freaking nuts, though. I was just staring at my screen. I was like, what are you doing? I was like, can you, like, I was just like praying that he would stop and like give it a rest for 5 seconds. It was driving me nuts a little.
Yeah. So some of you may not know, but there is a history lesson. In France, the method of execution was by guillotine until 1977, the same year that Star Wars came out. It's very recent. And therefore, I think that it's fully appropriate to try and lock in a guillotine on this man. And like Dustin Poirier said, you miss 100% of the guillotines that you don't go for. So I disagree with the slander about, he gave up like 5 minutes of control time in a 7-minute fight due to just guillotines. And while that may be the case, it would have been sick. So I'm backing my guy, Dustin Poirier. But
Guy, you're
furthermore,
looking at
I
this
have
all
to.
wrong.
Sorry?
you're looking at this all wrong. French people have been adapting around guillotines for years and years and years. France is a very old country. They've been doing this for a long time. They know what they're doing. You don't grow up in France. You don't get to be a special forces officer in France. I don't know if he's an officer. I just threw that out without being able to survive a guillotine. That's daily life there.
Oh my God. That is an excellent point.
True.
You think Benoit's not adapted to a guillotine? When he got put in that, he was like, wow, this feels right at home.
Yeah, like he's been there before, you know. Like you don't try to fight a shark in the water. Don't try to take a Frenchman with a guillotine.
Wow. Yeah, you know what? Okay, I retract that. That's fine, you know. But either way, look, I just gotta get just like a big ol' I told you so, not to CEO, because he's actually a Benoit Saint Denis fan. He has been since day one. That makes sense. What doesn't make sense is these people that say that Dustin Poirier is going to lose because his aura is gone. They got the ick for him, essentially. They were like, yeah, no, I saw him get knocked out, so he sucks now, and he doesn't have that aura anymore. Meanwhile, Benoit Saint Denis looked incredible in his last fight because he won his last fight. There are three cards, or there are three fights on this card that this is the case with. There's Jailton Almeida and Curtis Blades. Okay? Jailton Almeida won his last one. Curtis did not. And Curtis, you know, it looked maybe embarrassing. Okay? Same thing with Benoit Saint Denis. Same thing with Dustin Poirier. And same thing with Song Yadong and Petr Yan. Last time, Petr Yan got embarrassed. Last time, Song Yadong looked well. It was frustrating for me to see everybody in the world swear by Song Yadong, swear by Jailton Almeida, and swear by BSD just because they won their last fights and the people didn't. They're operating off of the aura, and they're operating off of the feel of how unbeatable they are, as opposed to actually looking at like the totality of the situation, right? What would have happened if instead of Petr Yan in there with Merab, if it was Song Yadong, it'd probably look worse, you know? So that is just something that is infuriating to me.
I will say on this, I think I feel the exact same way, especially like Dustin being an underdog. I had Dustin winning. Everybody I talked to that either fights or knows MMA had Dustin winning. And I think a big part of like him and Piotr and the way people were feeling going into this fight was the age. We're at a point where a lot of the fighters that we love that have been so beyond dominant, have done so good, are falling off. They're starting to lose. And I feel like that's clouding kind of a lot of people's minds, are kind of overtaking it, like that, you know, Volk mentality. What's happening with him? It's like, oh, well, I've known him for a long time. I think he's going to win. But now we're at the point where everybody's kind of falling off. So he probably will too. I genuinely think a lot of people are thinking that way, especially in their picks now. That contributed a lot to like Dustin being an underdog, which was just absurd to me.
Mm-hmm. A 2-1 underdog.
And I can finally say this in a public manner since the fight's over. I had to act extremely confident since Benoit's my boy. But at the same time, why the hell did they do this? Like, I get it. They got caught up in the momentum of Benoit, really big European fan base. They can tap into an untapped market. That's cool. That's fine. And he's finishing people. He's exciting. But, like, under what circumstances do they normally do this where they just randomly, you beat the number 15 guy, you get ranked number 12. Good for you. You know what we're going to do now? You're fighting Dustin Poirier because that makes sense. Let's do that. Like, now, granted, I get a lot of people were very like, is Dustin going to be himself? Is Dustin going to be himself? But I don't know. I feel like with these kind of fights where you have a guy like Benoit who didn't have that experience going up against a guy like Dustin, even if Dustin Poirier got knocked out against Gaethje, I try to look at it that Benoit's going to fight the best version of Dustin, which scared the shit out of me. And this is unrelated, but I figured I'd throw this out there just for the people that are throwing around the term fraud check just because he lost to Dustin. I want, and you can tell me if this makes sense in any manner, but this was his 6th fight at lightweight, I'm pretty sure, in the UFC. And He's 28. And if you look at Dustin Poirier, his 6th fight at lightweight when he was 27 years old, actually, no, it was his 5th. Around the same time, he was 27. He got knocked out by Michael Johnson in the first round. So all I'm saying is, I'm not saying Michael Johnson is the same as getting knocked out by Dustin Poirier, not at all. But if you look at where Dustin Poirier was around the same time where Benoit is now, I think we shouldn't jump the gun on this one, especially because he didn't look bad by any means. He just was inexperienced and a little reckless.
I think Benoit has become the male equivalent of Molly McCann because remember when Molly McCann spinning elbowed fucking, who was it, Hannah Goldie in the head? And they're like, yeah, all right, who is this chick? Whatever. That's fine. All right, fight Aaron Blanchfield. Just get fucked. Like, this is not an equivalent jump. What the UFC does mismatches. Jesus, I'm sorry. Sometimes it just happens. Irene Aldana was never going to beat Amanda Nunes. That is not happening. Let's be real. They can do that when a person is established. But when you are trying to grow somebody, don't throw them up for a mismatch just because you want a big card.
Bro, I think this would have all been fine if Dustin would have just beaten Justin because it would have been for the BMF belt. And we all know that Dustin can't win title fights. It would have been perfect. God damn it.
I love the fact that everybody was saying for the longest, Dustin Poirier just wants to rank squat. Dustin Poirier doesn't want to fight any of these up and comers. He just wants to fight Nate Diaz and get an easy win. He just wants to fight for paydays. And then Dustin does the best thing in the world. Was like, all right, dude. All right, I'll go ahead. I'll fight this guy. This guy's not a scumbag, dude. And he just goes in there, donks this guy in the head, knocks him clean out, and goes, all right, that was my guy. All right, I'm going home. Just quick. It was announced to like a couple months ago. He was just like, all right, I'll get it out of the way to stop the narrative. And then as soon as possible, it was just over.
Yep.
All right.
But just how good is Beneil? Because he didn't want to fight that guy, that's for sure.
I was wondering how you're going to turn it around to Benio. Michael Venom Page.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm an asshole here, right? But I like the UFC significantly more than I like the other organizations. And I wish the UFC was just a little meaner, right? Because you took a guy who was undeniably better than his competition in another league. When he comes to the UFC, maybe don't give him a champion, but don't give him fucking Kevin Holland, right? Because Kevin Holland is a goober. There's a 75% chance he is not going to train for this fight. Like, he's just going to show up and do stupid shit. I wish they gave him Usman. I wish they gave him somebody who was a dog and just being like, yeah, we are better than you guys. Like, it's not even close. Just dog them. That would make me a little happy. That'd give me a little home field advantage. That's something that UFC fans don't get as like a fighter. When a college team or professional teams, a city just beats on people, you get a sense of community. It's us against them, and there's not a lot of that in UFC. And I think that's a very pivotal part of sports.
Yeah. And everyone was calling MVP a can crusher. I guess Kevin's a can because that boy got crushed bad. Like, goddamn. It was kind of funny because Kevin Holland kind of got Kevin Holland, like the way he was getting pissed off the whole fight.
Mhm.
And I will say he's kind of a hypocrite because he hates getting spammed in the clinch. He hates offensive grapplers fighting him. But when he's getting his ass beat, all of a sudden it's A-okay, buddy.
Okay. I agree on this fight. I do have to go. So the one thing I'm going to leave you guys on is while he's already a little bit of a problem, I think Despain is going to be a big problem. I'm jumping you all the way to the early prelims on that thought, but I do have to go.
All right.
That was a blast. I'll come on if you ever need me again. You know what? I'll leave you with another thing. I love Charles Oliveira. Have a good night.
Ooh, makeba, makeba.
Of
That's
course,
Charles
she had to
Oliveira's
talk
song.
about that bum when she left. What a god damn it.
You still mad about the Vanille thing, dude?
I mean, no, but I like to,
Who are you rooting for in Armin versus Charles?
Honestly, a no contest would be kind of fire. That'd be pretty hype.
Yeah.
But
Charles kicks Armin in the head and tears his ACL in the process, that type of thing. Is that your
Oh.
dream scenario?
yeah.
Hell yeah. I think that you should be on Charles' side because Armand finished Benil quicker by a couple
But
minutes.
And
Armand
Armin's cringe.
That's also true.
But Armand didn't pull out of their original fight, so he didn't try to beat Beneil at his worst. So honestly, I think I respect Armand more for that.
That's a strong argument as well.
Here's my thing about Michael Vick and Page, though, to bring this back around. Okay. What I don't understand is that people will say, like, there's levels to this, Bellator isn't as good as the UFC and stuff like that, right? But the problem is that if, like, Volkanovski just, like, decided he wanted to be in Bellator from the jump, then he would do the same thing that MVP was doing, which is destroying everybody in Bellator. And so, like, it's not, if they're like, I mean, it's one thing if they're going tit for tat with people in Bellator, then you can be like, he's Bellator level. But if you're like largely destroying everybody, which MVP, he got knocked out once in like a weird, like he was like slipping, and then he lost a split decision. But other than that, he has never lost before. I just feel like it's weird to say that, he's clearly not UFC level just because he hasn't fought in the UFC yet. He's still been bodying people in Bellator in the same way that you'd expect a UFC fighter to do. So it's almost like when people say, and me and CEO talk about this a lot, the like when people say like Habib's first 15 opponents were all cans, so he sucks. And it's like, but then what happened when he went into not fighting cans? He destroyed them, so it doesn't matter,
Yeah, and my biggest problem is let's say hypothetically MVP was a can crusher. Let's say hypothetically he was of the Bellator level. Okay, why are we so confident Kevin Holland's going to destroy him though? Because MVP's never fought those high level guys, but also when Kevin Holland fights those high level guys, he loses. So it's like maybe he's on. Like, I don't know why people are so confident that Kevin Holland is this, like, he's the next level. He's the guy who's going to be like the Kamaru Usman, destroy everyone. He's going to put an end to the Bellator guy. Bro, he loses to like the high level UFC guys, so I don't know what the problem here is.
Yeah, I agree. So who's he fighting next?
MVP or Kevin Holland?
Either one. Probably MVP though.
For MVP, my heart just wants that Wonder Boy fight more than anything. But I'm trying to think. If the UFC really wants to like try to and put the whole UFC better than Bellator LOL thing, like a fun match that honestly I think MVP can win. Ian Gary could be fun, but I just don't know if Ian would fight that low in the rankings at this point.
Yeah, but I also think if they give Ian Gary MVP, he's gonna kick him in the head in 4 seconds. Like Kevin Holland, like you were saying, he is sort of a can of the UFC. He doesn't try that hard ever. He's like, I don't care about winning. He said that multiple times. He's like, I just want to have fun fights, whatever. He chooses not to grapple with Wonder Boy. And like the Wonder Boy fight is fun, but maybe I'm hating. Wonder Boy is gonna beat his ass. Wonder Boy is gonna kick him so goddamn hard. There's gonna be one of those big ass baseball bat welts on his body. Like he can anti wrestle pretty well. He can do enough stuff that he's gonna kick him real good. He's gonna move. He's gonna move his head. MVP does cool stuff to lower level guys. And like I'm not saying Kevin Holland is a low level fighter. He's in the UFC, but he is not the cream of the crop by any means.
Yeah.
I personally think that Kevin Holland's absolutely ridiculous, absurd chin got him through that fight. And if he had any kind of like ordinary chin, he would have like it would have been he would have been dusted in like 1 minute, and then everybody would have a lot different stuff to say about MVP, you know? Because like there was a lot of times where his blitzes, like he would blitz in and he would land like 2 or 3 shots, 1 or 2 behind the ear, and then like as you're exiting, hit you with a body kick or like kick your guard on your head or you know whatever. And I think that if he fights somebody less durable or if he fights somebody over 5 rounds, I mean it's going to be real rough. So I think that if he were to fight, and also the fact that he's able to fight from so far away means that it's a little bit harder to shoot on him because he's so far away. You know, you're not going to like dive across the octagon at him. And so I think that he is very good. I don't think that he can beat, you know, I don't think he can beat Shavkat. I don't think he can beat Leon. You know, but it's Colby, maybe, you
Bro,
know.
legend.
You think Colby beats? He loses to Colby. Absolutely, Colby bullies him. There's
Legend.
no shot. He gets pushed into a cage and he can't do anything about it.
I heard this exact thing, man. I heard like that's like a direct quote.
Do you think Kevin Holland and Colby are the same person? Like you think they're the
No,
same level of fighter even now?
no.
And one of the problems with MVP is him doing the weird spinning thing. He's like he's got the whole Soldier Boy dance thing going on, but he also his entrances have to be telegraphed based on how far away he stands from people. Those like the weird low kick off timings, he throws it and then he has like a full second where he's in the middle of that kick and he has to reset. And then he's got to reset and swing his hands a little bit. And it just seems like I'm not a great striker. But if you put him up against a great striker, I think his entrances are going to be a huge problem.
Colby's
Mhm.
not a great striker.
I'm not saying Colby's a great striker, but Colby will just bully him. That will be a non-fight. Like that's not a
Bro,
competitive fight. Colby
legend
will put
has
his nuts in his face.
legend has it Colby re-signed a contract on the condition he gets to fight Wonder Boy and in back to back.
It's the octogenarian league.
I just think that it would be a big problem if you weren't super durable like Kevin Holland. I think it would be a
Yeah.
huge problem to not get hit, not get hit hard, not get hit hard early, you know?
That's
Can
fair.
you
That's fair.
Could you imagine if any normal person took that weird ass spinning elbow thing he was doing all night?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
But in terms of Kevin Holland, I gotta back my boy a little bit, okay? Because there's a lot of slander going on, and while I'm not necessarily like disagreeing with it, um, I think that Kevin Holland is you know, he's a decent fighter. I just the UFC uses him like a chess piece to, you know, fight good fighters to give them a win, you know? And anytime they put him against Santiago Ponzinibbio or anybody that's like decent, that's on his level that he should be fighting, he just, you know, he does well or he completely mollywops them. Um, but it's like even against JDM, it was like kind of competitive, you know, and it was all on the feet. It was all JDM, all on the feet, all Wonder Boy, all on the feet, and like you know, he can hang in there with these guys that are strikers. That's the one thing that we've seen out of him is he fought. I mean, I would be willing to argue that MVP, JDM, um, and Wonder Boy are 3 of the top 4 strikers in the division, with the number 1 probably being Leon, you know? And so he's going in there with these guys and he's winning like 1 or 2 rounds and then losing a decision against all of them, except for Wonder Boy because of his hand and all that kind of stuff. But, I think that, and the problem is that if you're a great grappler, like half the people in the welterweight division are, then, you can probably do whatever you want to Kevin Holland. And if you're top of the top striker, then you can beat him. But other than that, so he's almost like
Yeah.
gatekeeper of the top like 10-ish or something like that.
That was another thing. Kevin Holland almost choked him out.
Hmm.
And Kevin Holland got 50-45 by Derek Brunson. So the wrestling threat is going to be, and especially at middleweight where it's just all or a lot of wrestlers, that can be a huge problem. I'm not saying he's going to do bad, but I've just been seeing so many people online be like, he's future champ, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, y'all did not watch what I watched.
Bro, Leon Edwards would whoop his ass.
Yeah, that would that would not be a fair fight.
Yeah. Okay. Gilbert Burns, Jack Della Maddalena.
Oh, well, we had to do it with me. Now we have to do it with you.
Go ahead, Zoom.
Man, like I had the same experience Bell had earlier. I was working, got in the car, pulled up I got off, whatever, pulled up my definitely legal stream, and I seen Burns on the ground and Jack's helping him up, and I almost threw my phone. I was so upset. Like, I went back and watched it. I didn't even see it. I thought he got clipped. Look, Burns looked good. A knee happens sometimes. Like, he didn't get jabbed and fall over. He had 2 good rounds. He won 2 rounds. I can't be that mad. He lost. It sucks, but like, there's definitely worse ways to go.
Yeah, and I will say, first off, Gilbert had a great performance. He did good. There's nothing that Gilbert should be ashamed of, that's for sure. But with Jack, I'm still very like on the fence about his grappling because on one hand, like the defensive grappling, it looked good. Like I liked some of the scrambles they had and some of like the little exchanges they had looked good, but also he made a few small mistakes that almost cost him. Like in that 3rd round, he almost like lost the whole fight because of a small error he made. But then again, that's against Gilbert Burns, who's one of the best grapplers in maybe the UFC, And I will say, Guy Vega, if you remember this, I think it was like 5 or 6 months ago, we did this thing. You asked, give me your top 3 draft picks of people who you think could be welterweight champion in 2 years. My number 1 was Leon. My number 2 was Bilal. And most people, their number 3 would be Shavkat. If they're feeling really frisky and are kind of dumb, they could say Ian Gary if they really wanted as the 3rd. But my 3rd draft pick was Jack Della Maddalena. And I'll say, since I said that, he's beaten Kevin Holland and Gilbert Burns now. So I think it's aging pretty well. It's just, I'm sick of him jumping guillotines. It's the same thing with Dustin Poirier. He needs to stop doing this bullshit.
He has it so much worse than Poirier does because Poirier sets up a guillotine and then jumps for it. Jack is just like, oh, you're coming at me? Hop. Like, it's a Mario jump. I don't know. He's got to stop doing that. He almost lost to, I do not remember the dude's name, but it was right before Kevin Holland. That was a close fight because he's like, what is a sprawl? I don't need underhooks. It is what it is.
And it's like, if he would just like sprawl and just use the underhooks, just deny the takedowns, he'd be good. Because like, from what it looks like, a lot of these guys can't hang with him on the feet. Like, he is so pretty to watch on the feet. The way he strings together these combos where he's hitting the body and the head all in one fluid movement. It's very fun to watch. but then he has to go and mess it up by jumping on a guillotine when it's like, bro, give it up. You don't need a submission win. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I also think that like I agree with you guys. Burns doesn't need to hang his head or anything. Um, it's just it's almost I feel that this is almost like Piotr Jan type situation where it's like either the person you're fighting is ridiculously cracked or something weird happens, if that makes sense, and you're kind of having like something of a skid because uh he's now like 2-2 in his last four, I think, right? Because he lost this one and he lost to Bilal, and then the two before that he won against Neil Magny and Jorge,
Yeah.
and then before that he lost to Chimaev, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's lost 3 out of his last 5, so it's almost like a skid, even though it's not a skid because it's only like too long, but at the same time it's like his shoulder comes out against Bilal. We don't know how well that would have went. But the thing is, if he didn't have that injury, I'm not saying he would have won, but I'm saying that we would have been able to have a better idea of how they stack up against one another in grappling and in striking. We would have been able to see that. And we would have been able to see, oh, they're about the same in grappling, but he's maybe a little better. And we would be able to kind of see that and have an idea. And since we didn't see that, we don't really have an idea in terms of seeing how good Gilbert Burns is. So I think that he's kind of hitting something of a Piotr Jan right now, where it's like shoulder out of socket, winning a fight until he gets kneed and fighting Hamzat.
I got to step in here because I'm a avid Piotr Jan hater and I'm an avid Gilbert Burns fan. Those two are not the same.
Oh
Piotr
yeah,
Jan lost his because one, he cheated. They're you cheating, and then he lost to Aljo fair and square because Aljo won more rounds. And then he lost fights due to his own volition. Like losing, you can't say the Marab fight is not his fault. Like Marab was better than, or it is. It isn't
yeah. It's
necessarily
not
his
his fault.
fault.
It's just Marab is insane. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
Marab
it's
is
it's sort of
insane.
like the Hamzat in this situation.
Well, yeah, but the Hamzat fight, whatever. I'm gonna let that one go. I'm still salty about that. But the shoulder, whatever. I just can't take that comparison. It's me.
It's just a series of unfortunate events.
I
You
get
know.
what you mean. I get
Let
what
me
you mean.
think of I can think of a better guy if you need me to. Like
No, you,
how about Anderson Silva against Weidman?
yeah, we'll call it that. That's fair.
Yeah.
Zoomer, if it makes you feel better, I would not want my favorite fighter getting compared to Piotr Jan either. So I'll see you on that one. But I will say, even though I don't know if I should like this or not, but I kind of like that we saw with JDM. We already know he has the clean striking. We already know he can win decisions. He can put you out. He can do all that. But we saw that he kind of has that dog in him where he can be 2 rounds down, deep in the fire. He's on the ground with Gilbert Burns on his back, which Jesus Christ, I would not want to be in that position. And he's able to dog his way out of it, knee him in the face, dig deep, and finish him in like the last minute or two. And I think I kind of like when fighters have that mentality in them where no matter how far down they are in a fight, you can't like for a second be like, well, this is over because we can get a Leon head kick out of nowhere.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that loss is going to age well. I think that JDM is probably going to like destroy Ian Gary or something like that. Just mincemeat Ian Gary. And then it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like that wasn't that bad. Gil Burns didn't do that bad against him. And,
Bro, do you know how bad it's going to look if that fight gets booked? Because I'm going to pick against Ian Gary for probably the 50th time in a row. Like, and it's not even because like I necessarily hate him why I'm picking against him. It's just I legit think he's going to lose these fights.
mm-hmm. Speaking of Piotr Jan, Waxed up that man's Song Yadong, put him in a suitcase, packed him up, no problems there. It's time for him to go fight Henry Cejudo, in my opinion. Henry Cejudo versus Piotr Jan.
Bro, who am I supposed to root for out of those two? I hate both of them.
That's the least likable fight ever.
It's the least. And
LMF or LLMF.
Yeah.
I am very, very salty just because I really, really, really like Song Yadong, and he sold that shit so hard. Like, we were doing so good, and then out of nowhere, it just turns around, and I don't know what happened. Like, Piotr Jan, when people say he's just a slow starter, he's just downloading data, they might be correct with this one, because he was getting his ass beat until all of a sudden he's just whooping on him, and I'm like, how did this happen?
Same thing
Yeah,
happened to Sandhagen.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think Piotr Jan is a very, very, very matchup dependent fighter. And I don't actually dislike him. It's mostly his obnoxious ass fans who just are like, no, it's not his fault he lost. It's this thing. There's zero accountability. It's the Curtis Blades thing all over again.
Okay, hold on. What is this? Now you're
What is what?
Now you're comparing Piotr Jan to one of my favorite fighters.
No, the Curtis Blades fan thing is like Curtis Blades a while ago before he kind of got beat up. It was like Curtis Blades is the best heavyweight in the planet. Who's going to stop his wrestling? We have to ignore the fact that every time he fights the guy who punches even a little bit hard, he gets knocked the fuck out like a cartoon. And that just it was mostly talking with Flagrant in them, and his comment section is just glazing Curtis Blades, and it sort of soured me to his taste. But it was the same thing with Jan, where people were like, "Well, he won that Aljo fight." And I'm like, "Well, did you watch it? You just hear that on Twitter." And then he just keeps fighting and fighting. He won the Sugar fight, which that was close enough. And then the Marab fight happened, and you kind of have to be like, "Well, all right." So he kind of fell off, but I just can't I can't stand the fans who it's not my fighter's fault when he loses, but he's the best in the world when he wins.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that just irks me. And like Song looks real good. He was looking like a Street Fighter character out there with the blonde hair. He's still young. Like him losing to Sandhagen and to Jan, those are not dudes who like you should not be ashamed to lose to those dudes, especially at is he I don't he's still under 30, isn't he?
He's like 27 or 26, I think.
Jesus.
He's got time.
Yeah.
And bro, that Corey fight, I always like that one that one got me a tiny bit salty too, just because like Song was doing really good, but Corey just digged so deep and just he was wrestling and elbowed him so hard, so that cut kind of ruined everything.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a good like question to get to know somebody. Almost like what is your sign? Is when did you realize Piotr Jan was not the best bantamweight in the world? Because you will get wildly varying answers. You know, you will get like from some people, maybe they're from Jersey or something like that. They'll be like, I never thought that he was, even when he was champion. Like, I thought that Aljo was going to beat him or something like that. But like there are some people that like they might still think it, and there's some people that like maybe Marab round 3 is when they came to their senses, you know. I
Bro,
think that for me it was Aljo round 2.
bro,
Yeah.
do y'all know this forget his name fully. I think it's like Ruse or something. I think he's a big Piotr Jan fan, and he still swears up and down to this day he's the best bantamweight on the planet. And
Piotr Jan fans are the worst fans in the sport. I'll die on this hill. I have made video after video just hating on this. I don't even dislike him that much. It's just I'm so soured because of his fans.
yeah, it's like if you lose 3 in a row, maybe it's like maybe it's your fault.
Yeah, you can't be the best bantamweight in the world when you are completely helpless when Aldo has your back. Like that's just not realistic. He got very good stylistic matchups in Sandhagen, in the guys leading up to the title. Like Jose Aldo is a dream for him. And Song Yadong is also sort of a dream. And then people are like, nah, he's the best bantamweight on the world. Don't worry about why he didn't do any defensive wrestling for 15 rounds against Merab. He's still the best.
And it's like, I don't know. I fully agree. These Petr Yan fans for the longest have been so very, very annoying. Whenever he loses, it's a robbery. This guy's the best bantamweight on the planet. Not his fault. I mean, the second Aljo fight, I don't even know how this conclusion happened. Because when I watched it live, I'm like, well, Aljo's still the champion. Let's move on from this. And then all I see is Aljo's the fraud. Aljo, if it wasn't for the knee, Petr Yan would still be champion. And I'm like, how are you guys still mad about that? He made it up by beating him fair and square. And then Sean O'Malley, which, close fight, but like, if a fight that close should never, under any circumstances, be considered a robbery. That's what I also hate, is when that term gets thrown around so much. And it's like, bro, maybe like those Petr Yan fans need to start hopping on Sean O'Malley, because if you think about it, he's done things that man could never do, which he successfully defended his belt, and he beat Aljamain Sterling, and he beat Petr Yan. So maybe we're looking at the bantamweight GOAT, because he beat the bantamweight GOAT, and he beat the so-called best bantamweight on the planet.
Damn. Respect. So that's a good question. Okay, this is an impromptu thing, because you're saying I don't even hate Petr Yan that much, but I hate his fan base. What are the fan bases where you like the fighter but you hate the fan base?
Oliveira, Curtis Blades. I don't really like Jan. He was kind of whiny about the Merab loss. I was fine with him before that. But I don't. Those are the ones I have at the top of my head. Oliveira fans were so bad for a while before he lost to Islam, and if you can be bad enough where you like start to sour people's taste of Oliveira, who's one of the most likable fighters, you have to be pretty horrendous.
You got to be pretty bad.
I think you can imagine my answer is about to be very similar with Charles, and believe me, they're still very, very, they're still very bad. I mean, my problem with them is it feels very weird for people who claim to be very big fans of the underdog story. He was getting his ass beat, then he becomes champion, dominating the division. For those who are a fan of a guy who's been finished 9 times, they are very loud people when your favorite fighter loses. Like, come on, buddy. But I also really hate Colby and Sean fans for about the same reason, because, I mean, if you're an avid Sean and Colby fan, you probably don't wash your ass.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Did you guys see, okay, talking about Charles fans, did you guys see the UFC 300 press conference?
Charles Dubitch Oliveira?
Dude. I mean, there was one after another sweaty nerd that just got on the mic and was like, Arman, you're gonna die. He's gonna knock you out. Do Bronx.
Did somebody ask Arman if he would fuck Kayla Harrison?
Yes.
Was that a real question?
But in the language, yeah.
That's what somebody said it was like a metaphor or something, and I'm like, okay, I don't trust your Mr. Twitter expert over here.
Bro, and I don't know if you all feel the same way, and maybe it's a weird pet peeve just for me. But the one thing I hate most with Charles and Alex fans, and I don't know if you noticed this, they be like, do they think they're Brazilian? Like, they're always like, Jama, Porra.
No, I like that. That's funny.
Oh,
That's funny.
I'm like, bro, come, you are a suburban white boy, bro. Chill out with all this.
I am literally Alex Pereira. I don't know what you're talking about.
Dude, the Alex Pereira memes are hilarious.
Oh, those on, yeah. Jamon Hill.
Huh?
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 Oh,
Jam.
jam. Dude, I
Um,
looked up what chama means, like on Google on my phone, and the first thing that popped up was, what does chama mean in Pereira?
Pereira.
In Pereira. Like he's like he has his own language. Like he's like Chewbacca or something where he just goes, huh? Huh?
Her,
Yes.
her
Huh?
sign language, his weird like thing he's
Yeah.
always doing to mean something too. Like,
The menacing stare has a meaning.
yeah.
That's a good answer too. Pereira is somebody that I really, really like in his fan base. He could not possibly be worse
Oh, I think his
because
fans are funny.
that I mean, they're funny whenever they're like they like the fact that he's like literally Alex Pereira, but he's wearing like a like you saw a picture of him just with the cooking apron, and that's all. And there was like three plates of spaghetti in front of him, and he was just like, "Huh, spaghetti."
He is so fucking funny.
Yeah.
There's just in him existing is funny content.
hmm I never would have thought when he first showed up that he was going to be this like memeable and stuff like that. But good
Yeah.
lord.
Bro,
Yeah,
you
it's so
know it's
funny. Oh, so go ahead.
it's funny when just a man mowing his grass is turns into a meme.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. Do you guys remember before the huge like thing with EDP came out when it was just like videos of EDP doing things and they'd
Yeah.
like put clip or like words over top? It's like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The video of him in the backyard and he's shooting at the ball. That's hilarious. Like it's just I don't know.
Men will
He's
just
such a
see stuff like this and think chama.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just the lowest quality of memes and I'm like, ah, this is fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
It's great. Okay. Last fight I necessarily want to talk about is Mateusz Gamrot versus RDA. Dude, so I try so hard and I do pretty well at not hating somebody that is a nice person, a cool person, you know, like even if they're a boring fighter, as a person, I like them and stuff like that. Gamrot, dude, and
Bro.
maybe it's because I really like Jalen Turner and I really like Rafael Fiziev, but either way, it's getting kind of hard. It's getting kind of hard over here to not turn into a, you know, a Twitter MMA fan.
Bro, I kind of love him though because he's just so
I
stupid.
love Gamrot. RDA is one of my favorite fighters ever, and I still love Gamrot. The Fiziev thing, people were overreacting because like maybe it's a little lame to celebrate getting hurt, but he did smack his elbow down onto that foot. Like he blocked it well. I don't think the whole people getting super mad about that was as like it's not great. It's not a great look. Let's be
It
And
was
honest.
his other
But
leg. It was his other leg. It
but
was a leg that he
look,
was pivoting
about
on.
it. Think about it from his perspective. He got kicked in the elbow. This dude falls. He starts ground and pounding, and then Herb Dean pulls him off. From his perspective, he just knocked this guy out.
yeah, that's what in the end, like it is what it is. He thought it's not a good look. Let's be honest. It's like the Bryce Mitchell or Josh Emmett yelling at Bryce Mitchell. Bad look. Bad look, especially when he has a seizure after. But you can kind of forgive him. It's not that. He's just such a goober. I can't dislike the dude.
Yeah, and
He's such a funny dude.
I also just love the idea that this dude is top 6 in the division, and yet he's like going tooth and nail to beat Rafael dos Anjos in 2024.
He was like not maybe not linearly in line for the title with the like he was the backup for the lightweight title, and then he's like number 13. Let's go right now.
Could you could you imagine if he fought Islam that night?
The worst part is he doesn't do too bad against Islam, I don't think. Like he is a fantastic grappler, especially when somebody tries to grapple with him. Like if you want to strike with him, that's he has a harder time. But when you grapple with him, it often doesn't go well.
Dude,
I mean,
okay.
he's good. He's
Gamrot,
good.
all he
My,
does is get outstruck and get knocked down and then win on control time. He did that against Armand. He got knocked down once. He got outstruck 81 to 95, and he won on control time. He goes against Jalen Turner. He gets outstruck 29 to 40, gets knocked down, and then wins on control time. And
He
then
also had Jalen in a crucifix and elbowed him in the head for 40 seconds.
absolutely nothing changed about Jalen Turner's face, by the way. Absolutely nothing. The one person who's never going to get accused of doing steroids is Mateusz Gamrot, because anybody else should have perished underneath a crucifix
you
getting
know,
elbowed that many times, and absolutely nothing happened. And then he goes against RDA, who's like, is he ranked?
he's like 11 or
Is he
12.
I have 13 in my head for some reason, but that's probably not right.
13 at
That's
like
probably
welterweight?
I don't.
no, he's a ranked lightweight.
He fought like 40 years ago, right?
But
As
What is
soon
he?
as RDA knocked him down, I was like, oh, RDA is gonna lose, because this is the pattern.
Gamrot just wants to scramble, and being knocked down is a gateway to scrambling.
my thing is, like, I just want him to fight Beneil 100 times because they were basically made for each other because they're gonna do their fun little scrambles. Beneil hits hard, so he's gonna knock him down. But you're not
I don't
gonna.
think you have to hit hard to knock him down. I think it's like
Yeah, fair.
impossible to knock him out, though.
If RDA's knocking you down, I don't know, maybe. But I am excited though because Gamrot versus Benoit Saint Denis is about to be brutal as fuck. Like Benoit's gonna
Yeah.
knock him down badly. Gamrot's
I don't think that's true. I think he's gonna knock him down. I think all knockdowns are equal. If you jab him like this, he's falling over. Or if you hit him with that nasty overhand that Beneil hit him with, and he's just like, I am fine. I fell down, but I'm back up now. I instantly recovered. And now we're scrambling again. It's such a goofy fighter.
Gamrot it seems like he thinks they're in a wrestling match and the other person's being rude. Like he thinks that he's in a wrestling match and the other guy's cheating.
Yeah,
Like
it's a little bit like he's wrestling with a kid and the kid punched him. He's like, ow, all right, let's go back to wrestling now.
yeah.
Bro, you know what's crazy about the whole Rafael Fiziev thing with Gamrot? People forget this, and I think it's because it wasn't on as big of a stage. He did the same thing to Diego Ferreira. Like, he was fighting Diego got injured, and he started celebrating like he just knocked out the champion.
Yeah, once you do it twice, it's very funny.
That's fair. That's fair. But I'm gonna tell you, you do not want Benoit Saint Denis to fight Mateusz Gamrot. Because once again, I will tell you exactly how it goes. I will tell you word for word, bar for bar, what happens.
Of
I
course,
think
it's
that
the same thing in every fight. Like, this is an easy prediction. He gets knocked down, he scrambles, he wins on control time.
exactly. He wins a decision based on control time, having thrown 5 strikes.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, every time he talks, he's so nice that I can't help but like him. But that's not gonna. But I'm still upset.
Bro,
Yeah.
honestly, this dude called out Charles Oliveira. I think that's the funniest part of all of it.
If he does that to Charles Oliveira, can you imagine the internet the next day?
Wait,
I'm
what did
buying
that?
a full Mateus Gamera outfit, short underwear, socks, shirt, everything. Oh,
If you
so goddamn funny.
if you think about it, Gamrot is basically the decision merchant version of Charles Oliveira. He gets dropped every fight and just wins up the decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's literally just scrambles, and he's really fun to watch scramble.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it against Beneil. He's like, I'm just not scrambling. I'm nuh-uh. We're gonna scramble a little bit, but I'm just gonna do it poorly. Like he's out there doing 8 Granby rolls. He's diving in on the 15th single leg in a row against Arman. And then against Beneil, he's like, all right, well, that didn't work. I'm done scrambling. And then he just goes back to trying to punch. And it just doesn't flow for him. He just doesn't get it. I don't know.
It's so fun. Like it's like if you took Hamza and then you made him like forget what to do when he gets you down. That's what it's like.
It's like, bro, have you seen the pictures of him with the glasses? Like this dude,
Mhm.
he's not a fighter. He's just an MMA. Like to him, it's not a fight, it's a match.
Mhm. Could you imagine if he had like sick ground and pound or like really good submissions? He would just run through absolutely everybody for
Give
free.
give this man Armand's ground and pound, and he's the champion by 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's one, his ability to just do a head and arm triangle, bro. Like, it's the first thing they teach you. You know how to do that? If you can, he set up a crucifix on Jalen Turner. And then it was like, he's just barely moving his shoulder. Like, that
Just
is
like
the,
smothering.
yeah. Yeah. It really does seem like he doesn't know he can submit people.
Mm-hmm. Thinks it's against the rules.
Because, like, that was a pretty close to perfect crucifix. Like, he has his arm out there. If he wants a Kimura, it's there. He just he didn't even attempt it.
It's
It
like
just
what I'm waiting for the Sean Strickland effect where it comes out one day that he's just an animal and in sparring, he's like knocking people out, submitting them, and just dog walking them.
that's great. So, okay, well, we can close with this. All right. So, Zoom, our
What's
last
up?
podcast, we went through all of our predictions for UFC 300. So, today, it's just going to be you.
All right.
Your prediction for
Let
300.
me pull up UFC 300 right
I'll
now.
let you
'Cause I
know.
forgot who's on it. All
Got
right, all
him.
right. Let me know.
But we just added Jalen Turner versus Renato Moicano. I, for one, am picking Jalen Turner.
That's easy money right there.
Okay.
Jalen Turner.
Moving right along. How are you feeling about Bobby Green and Jim Miller?
I'm saying that goes to decision. That's a toss up. That's a toss up. Probably Bobby Green. Jim Miller was a dog, but he did not look great against that first round, or in the first round against who's the last guy he fought? Benitez?
Something like
Whatever.
that.
Something. Bobby Green.
Okay. Jessica Andrade and Marina Rodriguez.
Andrade. Going Andrade.
Sadiq Youssef and Diego Lopez.
That's a closer one. I'm gonna go Sadiq Youssef. Diego Lopez. Sadiq got kicked in the head with a wheel kick by Edson Barbosa. I don't care that Barbosa's 57 years old. That's still Edson Barbosa. I think he can get it done.
Okay. Holly Holm versus Kayla Harrison.
Dude, how is that legal? Kayla Harrison by whatever she wants.
Wait. What is all this? There's
Holly
levels to this
Holm was
game, and
born before Brown versus Board of Education. It doesn't matter anymore.
Holly Holm is a UFC fighter, and there's levels to this. And Kayla Harrison is coming from a different organization.
That's true. But I think right now I could probably beat up Muhammad Ali.
Yeah. Well, he's dead.
Yeah. Not too much longer with Holly, though, right?
That's fair. Okay. Davison Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt. What round does Cody finish him in?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I was not a Figgy believer. I thought I will die on the hill. Flyweight sucks balls. There's no point in watching men's combat sports under 130 pounds in anything. And I thought Figgy was gonna get dogged at bantamweight, but then he did real well against Font. Cody is going to get washed. It's sad to see, but he beat a journeyman with a really like a career threatening neck injury last time. So I'm not valuing that last win at all.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a tough one. Bo Nickel versus Cody Brundage.
Ooh. I'm gonna slightly favor Bo in this one. I think. I think he
Oh,
can really dig deep, and he'll be able to pull it out the mud.
like decision probably.
Yeah,
Hmm.
probably a decision.
Okay, a controversial one probably.
Yeah, real close. I bet he gets. I think he does. He lands more shots, but you'll probably get dropped once or twice. You know.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Bo's known to. Yeah. Bo's kind of chinny, I heard.
Yeah, he's got to watch out. Cody, he might. He's got to watch out for the wrestling. Like he's got really good defensive wrestling. Um, but that single leg, the like low single he does, it could get him.
It's pretty nasty. Calvin Cater versus Aljamain Sterling.
Dude, Calvin's fucked. I just seen the TikTok of Aljo reacting to whatever, some fight last night. And Aljo looks enormous.
Mm.
Yeah, no, Calvin's in trouble.
Yeah. I'll go, baby.
Hendrix,
Yes,
tell him
sir.
about your TikTok, the one that we
The what?
the edit that you made.
Oh, so you know how like there's this popular thing where people make edits of Gotham's relying on one man to save us all. And
Yeah.
what I put Ilya knocking out Volk, and then Gotham's relying on one man to save us all, and it cut to Kofi Kingston's SOS theme and Aljamain Sterling.
Dude, and it was
My
the best. It was the best Aljamain Sterling edit I've ever seen in terms of like making him seem badass, though.
dude, I seen a really hard Aljo edit like 2 or 3 months ago, and I laughed for a long
Bro,
time at that.
the part that I'm most proud of is I somehow made him look good in the first Peter Yan.
Yeah, and then like the Sean O'Malley, like he had like like a little bit when he was clinching with him, and he threw like two punches like this. Like
That's a good one. No, my dream used to be Aljo wins a bunch of bantamweight and goes up and beats Volk. That was my dream scenario because there's not something funnier than that.
true.
Yeah.
Especially if he just gets his back for 3 rounds
Yeah,
and just wins 3 rounds like that.
yeah. Or if it was I was hoping it was when Volk was still champ. It doesn't work as much. I was hoping for Aljo double champ, and he was gonna do Volk the same way he did Sandhagen.
Oh my god.
Can you imagine Volt goes to like tap out and like goes unconscious right beforehand, and then he just rolls off Aljo?
Could you
Oh,
imagine
Aljo
how
doesn't let
hard-
him go after he taps.
Bro, honestly, we might have to call Aljo the GOAT if he would have done that. Like he found that man's neck. He made it exist.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the old Brian Ortega thing,
Mhm.
where no neck, you can't sub him. You got to go for an arm or something.
Yeah. Yuri Prohashka versus Alexander Rakic.
I'm not as sold on Rakic as everybody else is. I'm gonna go Yuri. That's not 100%, but I'm not as sold on Rakic as everybody else.
I feel bad because in our video where we were making predictions, I said around the lines, this man's been gone for so long, I kind of forgot if he's good or not.
Yeah. I don't know. He's one of those ones where like the diehard fans just love him. And then like I watch him fight Jan and not move his head at all. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not seeing what everybody else is.
Charles Oliveira versus Arman Saryukian.
All right. If we're being real, what is Armand going to do to Charles? Is he a better striker?
No.
No. Is he going to be able to hold him down?
No.
No. Is he maybe he like flash knocks him out like he does to Benil, but there's a chance I knock Charles Oliveira out if we fight him. Like anything can happen. Oliveira's got that one pretty easy.
Nice. Based Zoomerman. Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway for the BMF belt.
Dude, that's a tragic, horrific beating that Max has to endure. Gaethje kicks calves really well. Max doesn't like that. Gaethje hits really hard. Max kind of likes that, but if you try to have a dick measuring contest with Justin Gaethje, you're gonna end up like it's gonna be real hard to remember your kids' names and stuff. Like little things are gonna make you real angry. That's a one-way trip to NFL lineman levels of CTE. Like
Yeah.
I will say, and I'm coining this. I need to like go and make sure that everyone knows this is my idea for when it happens. When Max Holloway wins, maybe I'm delusional, probably am. When he wins, I want him to call the BMF belt the blessedest motherfucker belt.
Amazing.
Yeah, no, he looks big, but in one picture on Instagram, people have been going crazy over that, and I'm like, okay, cool. Now you still have to fight Justin Gaethje. Have fun with that shit.
Zhang Wei Li versus Yan Jianan.
Ooh, another razor close one. You know,
Mhm.
Zhang has to watch out for. Well, fuck.
Bro,
Yeah, I got nothing, dude.
bro, I
Pray
don't
for
know,
Jan.
man.
I do.
Jan,
I don't
Jan,
care. I saw her throw Carla Esparza around. I saw her change fucking Ioane and Jacek's head. She's looking like ET. There's no, she doesn't win. There's no chance. That crawl mall style that Jan has or Zhang has when you're fucking on the ground, and then if you're on the feet, just don't be on the feet with Wei Li.
Mm.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know though. You know, Jan could like knock her out because, as we all know, Wei Li obviously has like a bad chin historically. You know,
Historically, no, Wei Li easily.
Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill.
please say the right answer here.
This is a fun one. It is closer than people think. This is a harder one for me. I know people are gonna come at me for this, whatever. But like, if Jamal Hill hits Alex, Alex is going out.
Let's
There's no
go.
question. He's got to get to him though. Jamal has that gym teacher build, and it tricks me every single time because like he's very, very, very athletic. Obviously, he's a professional athlete, but he just doesn't look like it, you know. I might say Jamal Hill. I don't know. 50-50 on that one. Either or. I like Alex more, so we'll go with Alex.
I am on a journey to prove to myself that Alex can win because I feel like Alex is a heart pick. But I need it to be true, so I'm trying to like talk myself into it, if that makes sense. So that's the struggle I'm dealing with at the moment. But yeah, I'm picking Pereira. Everybody else in the community is picking Jamal Hill. I'm sad.
That's terrible, dude. If he gets hit with like a Looney Tunes ass knockout, Johnny Walker style, that'd be so depressing.
Bro, could you imagine if Jamal Hill did what he did with not only the knockout, but he also did what he did with Johnny, where he's like, he was sleeping on me. Let the doctor wake his ass up.
I do like Jamal Hill a lot. That's a good line. And if you knock Johnny Walker out, like obviously that's not the hardest thing in the world to do, but like you still got to survive Johnny Walker. and he's a legit guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. All right. It's not bad. It's not bad. I think I'm gonna do that to everybody until UFC 300 and see, how everybody's picks go. So I already went through where you guys can find Hendrix and where you guys can find Zoomerman on TikTok and various other platforms. So signing off. Goodbye, everybody. Tune in next time. Peace.